How can you spot gaps, bridge the opportunities, and create your own competitive advantage? That's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to Women Leaders on the Move, a Her C-Suite radio podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Benamou, and every week I'm coming to you to bring ideas that you can take forward in your life and your career. I'm also the founder of Her C-Suite, a portfolio network where women are building what's next. I'm really thrilled to be talking to you about this because it's something I've been doing my whole career, and I just realized recently not everybody knows how to do it or what is involved. We oftentimes are looking to solve a problem before understanding all the dots and connecting the through lines to be able to find the solution. A lot of times we surround ourselves by conversations about what might be changing. It could be AI, business models, consumer behavior, the workforce, healthcare, technology, you name it. We are all talking about it. And often it's easy to look outside to see the trends, and we miss what's happening in our own organization. We miss the way that we can close the gaps and make opportunities happen. What if there's something right there that we're not even realizing? It could be something so small, but if we take advantage of it, it could turn into something big. What I want to talk about with you today is how to recognize what the gaps are so that you can bridge them and use them to benefit yourself, your company, your family. These strategies will work in any scenario. So let's get started now. Usually things come to us and it's not always obvious. Sometimes it could be a customer asking questions or a process that companies are really stressed about doing, or technology that isn't delivering on what it's supposed to do. And we don't recognize the friction and miss the window that might be opening and think, well, that's how we do it. Instead of thinking about, well, what would happen if? I'll give you a scenario. You are in an industry and it's impacted by, let's say, tariffs or volatility, and your sales have gone down, or you may have a new competitor that just creeped in the dark of night and you didn't see them coming, and all of a sudden they're taking market share away from you. Or when a company loses a large client, if any of these scenarios sound familiar, you might be leading a board, you might be leading a company, you might have your own company. And one of these things has happened to you in the last few months. Often we look to new things. We try to find a new shiny object that's going to solve this problem. But you know what? It doesn't always do that, does it? The first thing is so obvious of really figuring out where is the problem originating from. Instead of saying, we've got a solution, we're going to go sell this now, you might not be recognizing, how did you get to this place? How did a competitor come in without you realizing it? How are you not having diverse enough products that when the market shifts, you can still be selling something? How is it possible that when you lost that customer, you didn't have anything in the pipeline? I can give you ideas and examples in all of these. And one of them, with the last idea of how did you not have enough in the pipeline, oftentimes what can happen as you grow a business, you have a customer and you're growing the customer and they become bigger, and all your resources are being channeled into that client because it's worth so much money. You want them to feel appreciated. You love the fact that you can help them. And what often happens is the rest of the business, or the idea of being able to go out and get new opportunities, gets pushed off because you are just trying to service that client instead of figuring out how can you maximize resources. And today, in the age of AI, there's absolutely ways that you can streamline business to help support the team. But what oftentimes is experienced both by the team and the customer is that there's gaps you're not filling, and they start looking elsewhere, and all of a sudden They might break your contract, even if you have something that's multi year. They may start using another vendor or another supplier and use you, but they use you less. And so all of these things are happening. And sometimes we aren't even sure where to go first to solve it. What is happening before you got to this point? Why is it that you weren't recognizing the ramp up of the need for this customer? I'll give you an example. I've had clients in the past when I was in trade shows, and I would bring in more and more of the business from a certain customer. So it might have started with one program, and then we added products or we added full scope of services, we added additional services. And through all of that, there were new requirements, new add ons for people. And it isn't always easy to find the right people. You might have outside resources you're bringing in, but while you're doing that, you're keeping your eye off the ball, like I was describing earlier. The result is you are missing opportunities that are fading. You might be missing that customers are quietly or not so quietly going elsewhere because they can't get what they need from you. And so before you even get to this point, you have to pay attention to what is happening. You have to do listening tours. You have to talk to your customers. You have to talk to your customer's customer to see where their challenges are so that you're continuously trying to solve your customer's issues and create the solution that they really can't live without. I love looking at what people have created for their business and trying to see these opportunities. And often, if you are finding yourself in one of these three scenarios, you are in need of generating revenue quickly. It's not something that you can wait 6 months or a year to bring in revenue to offset that loss. You have got to do it, or you're going to do what so often is happening in the world today: layoffs. If you look at the statistics that happened in July, it is heartbreaking to know that 100% of the losses of jobs in the workforce was for women. And that's why this conversation is so important for you. I want you to think about how you can see the signs before anyone else does and look for opportunities to help you stay relevant and be in demand, whether it's for your customers, whether it's for your business, whether it's the board that you're serving, whatever the scenario. You need to see the signs around you and think about it in a different way so that you become the go to solution for when things are starting to slide out of control, or hopefully before even that moment. We have to look for hidden opportunities that aren't always in plain sight. A lot of times, if we are in one industry, and it could be healthcare, it could be finance, whatever it might be, we never think about the tangential industry adjacent to us because we're so focused on the silo that we may overlook what's right next door until we're in a predicament like this, like I'm describing, where you've just lost market share, you're at risk, you're trying to save jobs, you're trying to figure out a way, right? Rather than losing the momentum that you've been building and feeling like, if I do this over here, I'm going to have to spend more money, I'm going to have more resources. The first thing you need to do is look internally at who you already have on your team that's been overlooked, underutilized, not being in the limelight. Those people are there and they want to get involved, and you may have been overlooking those superstars because you've been so focused on this big customer, or with all the changes that are happening in the world, you may not have seen that you have people. When you have these hidden opportunities, some of the things that you have to look for besides the existing expertise is your own IP, relationships. Who are your customers in relationships with? Maybe they have a partnership. Maybe they have a sister company that also needs something that you can provide. Where is the disruption in the industries? And is there a door opening in the areas that also could use something that you are creating? And what is the data showing you? A product or service that can solve a problem in another market is so viable, and you do not have to go out and create something new to make that happen. Where you can start is looking at the gaps in the silos. Some of the biggest gaps can happen because everyone is looking at the same situation from a different vantage point. I heard something recently where someone was describing to me that they had come together and they wanted to get efficiencies and asked AI to give ideas. And because the information was not on brand or it wasn't helpful and it was so different, they decided to do nothing instead of adopting something new. And that can happen really easily. It is so critical that you not only leverage technology, but you have to start with what is the problem we're trying to solve in this adjacent industry, in this adjacent field. What is our customers' problem? What is the problem of this industry that is being disrupted and how can we solve for it? Everybody hears something different. The key to coming out of this and solving the problem in a new and unique way is by not having silos in your own company. Oftentimes, you have sales in one group, operations in another, technology in another, and no one is seeing all the dots except hopefully the C suite, but everyone in between is missing what the others are doing. And I mentioned listening tour, but one of my favorite things to do quickly in a situation like this is go on a roadshow. Bring your top people from operations, technology, and leadership and do a listening tour and share. Here's some of the things that we have already in our product mix. What are you seeing as opportunities that this might fit? Ask your people. They have ideas that you are underutilizing. Advantages come from being able to connect those dots early and fast and adopting and being agile in what you're doing and not waiting. Don't wait for this to happen. You should be doing this quarterly. A lot of people do all hands and have these meetings, but it doesn't feel like the engaging two-way conversation I'm envisioning when I'm talking about this, where you are going out and you're having talks with your customers' customers, you're sharing what you're finding out internally, and you're getting champions internally that are wanting to solve the challenges that your company is facing. And when you are transparent and explain it in a way that everyone can understand, which is we want to help shore up this loss together. There's a gap in revenue, and we want to come together and solve for this. And it may involve technology, it may involve AI. But before we do, we've gone on this listening tour, and here's what we're seeing as the problem that we can solve already with the products that we have. Instead of asking what is changing, ask what change can you make possible that wasn't there before and how you can solve it. Here's some questions that you can ask that will help you identify the problem that you're solving and also help you identify what you have already in your company, whatever it is. If you're a solopreneur or you run a big company, these problems exist everywhere. First, look at where is there friction and is it between people that have friction with the source that they're using, or is it something bigger? Where is the friction that people are feeling? What are customers, employees, or partners repeatedly trying to solve for themselves on their own? You can find out on YouTube, get statistics on what are people looking at to solve a problem and see trends. You can find out what are the most downloaded information that people are asking about. That's the one thing that AI can do for you is amazing research quickly as long as you give it the right prompts of tell me what is happening in this industry for these customers and what is their number one problem and see what happens. Run it across 4 or 5 models. Don't rely on ChatGPT or Claude for only getting the information and see what comes out. And then look internally. What capability already exists that you have that you've been only selling it in one way, or you've been only delivering that product in one way? And could you, if you were to position it differently, solve this problem that you just discovered in this adjacent industry? Where are there two disconnected pieces of information that could tell you a bigger story? Maybe there's an M&A story that's happening, and the two companies, if they were to come together, your company may lose that business. Well, you need to start having conversations with both companies and make sure that you are solving things that they haven't thought of. When you can surprise and delight customers in a new and unusual way, that is a differentiation that helps you build long term relationships that solve things that people need. Understanding what's changed, making solving this problem possible is at the core of what we're talking about. And being able to connect the dots of things that are hiding in plain sight that you hadn't thought of, looking and listening and being a constant, curious, agile learner every day. Pay attention to what's happening in your industry. Pay attention to where things are getting stuck, or seeing that, hey, you know what? In this field, there's disruption, and don't wait to solve it. Start filling your pipeline ahead of time so that you are ready when these dips happen. The hardest thing is the ups and downs in any business. I don't care what size. It could be a mid cap, a large Fortune 100, or a small entrepreneur. There's going to be these ups and downs, and you have to be ready for those moments way in advance. One of my favorite analogies is people say that they have a hard time waking up in the morning. And so they hit the snooze button and they hit the snooze button, and then they get up and they feel groggy and they're tired. And then they do it again. That's similar to what businesses do. They're hitting the snooze button, they're doing their best, trying to solve where the problem is right in front of them. And they keep doing that instead of looking at, well, why am I tired? I'm tired because I didn't go to bed and get enough sleep. I need to roll it back and look at yesterday to be able to manage my day today. That's how, when you look beyond the obvious, what's in front of you, you can solve issues and challenges and be ready for the drops, be ready for the thing that is dipping unexpectedly. We spend a lot of time trying to predict what's coming next. And I am always looking around me to see the trends, to see and hear what's happening, but also being ready to bridge some solutions, not something new, but something that already exists to make it easy, reduce the friction. The next growth opportunity, partnership, innovation, or something entirely new may not be new at all. It might be just right inside or below the surface. It may begin with seeing the tiniest gap that exists where people need to solve a problem. And then you can bring together the solution that makes it easier and add value. When we start with adding value and solving the solution, that's really where you can make an impact. When you have an interview and you look at the company and you identify gaps that the company could be having, and you say, you know what, I looked at your company and I'm curious, have you ever explored this as a growth model? Boards are the same thing. Boards are looking for growth, transformation, and risk. When you're meeting with a new leader, when you're networking with someone, get curious about the place that they work. Get curious about who their customers are, and ask questions have you ever thought of? This will differentiate you. It will give you an advantage. And I know that when you apply these things, you can stand out from the competition, stay relevant, and be in demand. Thanks so much for listening to this exploration of how do you bridge gaps. It could be something simple that is right in front of you, or more complex, but always being a curious and agile learner will position you to be able to respond and solve it quicker. And if you liked what I talked about, these are the types of things that we look at when we work with clients, and also when we are helping our entrepreneurs in her C-suite. I hope you'll check it all out. I cannot wait to hear from you. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear a story of how you bridged a gap and what you are seeing in the market. As always, keep shining your light bright. The world needs you. Hey, it's Natalie, and I want to invite you to have a call. I would love to collaborate with you. Check out the show notes and schedule time, and let's start bridging your gaps today.